Abundance with
David.
David. It's my husband and my favorite human. And yeah, I am excited to have another live stream. It's been a long time since the last one, I think about 1.5 months. I took a little bit of a break and I'm happy to have one with you again. And as long as there's actually someone joining already. Just make sure you can just type away any kind of questions you have. That's what these live streams are for. You can ask me anything, and even today you can ask us anything. And yeah, we will just go with the flow. I'm planning to be live for about an hour, but whatever goes. Like if there's many people joining, then we are totally flexible. And yeah, it's the live stream is what you make it. Just whatever you are up for. I actually posted on Instagram yesterday for the first minutes of the live stream, as long as there's no questions coming in. If there are some questions that I could actually answer at the very beginning, what I'm going to do, that's what I'm going to do now. And Chris, you know who you are. She asked, and we are actually in coaching also together. So I hope you're really, really well. I hope you're fine. And the C word, which I'm not going to mention here because YouTube doesn't like the C word, the virus is not treating you too badly. So is it bad to eat 5 potatoes a day for potassium? So maybe you're wondering, like, if you're watching this, like, why is it even a question? But I know that person has some similar experiences in terms of adrenal fatigue. And if you don't know that yet, I have struggled with adrenal fatigue. I think it was 2017, 6. I don't even know right now.
Somewhere then.
Somewhere in the past, but not too long ago. And it is a question when you have adrenal fatigue, because when your body is overwhelmed with all processes because of chronic stress and too high cortisol, and you're deep enough in the adrenal fatigue, then you are going to struggle, or it's very, very common for people to struggle with potassium intake in the ratio of potassium and sodium, because that is the body usually regulates that itself. The adrenals, it's their job to do that normally, and if they are over challenged or kind of burned out, if you will, and insufficient in their function, then that's not going to work as well. And so the question is totally understandable. I actually, in that phase when I was suffering from adrenal fatigue, I did have to pay attention on my potassium intake also, because I really felt like my something was off when I was eating a lot of bananas and or potatoes. And I've always been, and I still am, potato and a banana girl. Like, I really like these type of foods, with other foods together, of course. But yeah, so I actually limited my intake when I was suffering. And so is it bad to eat 5 potatoes a day for potassium? I wish...
Depends on the size of the potato.
Exactly.
There are small ones and there are huge ones.
Yes, exactly. That's the first thing. And I wish I could just give you like, bam, that's how it is, but it's just really so super individual. It really depends on like how fried your adrenals are, and then also just how you feel. For me personally, I just really felt blood sugar issues going on, and so I also really had to balance my meals with... Hi John, how are you? I'm fine, thank you. Thank you for joining us.
You had to balance your meals?
Thank you. Yes, I actually had to balance my meals by not only eating carbohydrates, so things just really digested in a slower manner. I kind of had to regulate my blood sugar manually, which normally your adrenals do for you. And so, yeah. So you really just, I wish I could give you a better answer, but you really have to just listen to your body, what actually feels okay. If you feel bad after 5 potatoes, maybe it could also have to do with the carbohydrate load in one sitting. It really just, really just depends. I'm so sorry, but there's no better question because I can't decide that for you.
Better answer?
Better answer?
There's no better answer than that.
Yeah, answer. Yeah.
Not question. But generally speaking, and I think we have to add this here, if you are a healthy person and not struggling with this condition of adrenal fatigue, it's like your potassium intake via potatoes is not a problem at all. You
Yeah.
can just eat as much as you want and it will be fine.
Yeah, good point. Thank you. Yeah, for sure, because that's like a mainstream fear actually. There's some fear mongering about, oh no, all those bananas, all those whatevers. It's really not an issue at all. Nature didn't make a mistake creating these whole foods, and you just, it would maybe be a thing if you were just only eating,
Potatoes, day
Yeah.
in, day out. Yeah.
but then in and of itself, they are kind of a complete food. That even wouldn't be a problem if you did that for a week, if you were, living somewhere where there's only potatoes. But
On Potato Island, probably.
on Potato Island or Banana Island, that's totally doable. But then again, we have to talk about obsession. Like, why are you doing that? Because it's not necessary in any way, shape, or form. Yes, I think there was a question coming in already, right? Can you have a look?
Yeah, John retracted the message, so we're not going to answer it, the question.
Okay, I think I know the question though, but I think there's a reason why.
If you still want to have an answer on this, John,
Yeah.
then just type in the message, the question again.
Yeah, don't feel bad about asking. You can ask anything as long as you think it's appropriate, and we ourselves can decide if we're going to answer it or not. So don't feel shame. So yeah, as long as there's no more questions coming in, I'm going to head forward to another question I got asked via Instagram by Kiara McConnell. By Kiara. Hi, Kiara. Did you stick to eating 2,500 calories in recovery, or did you ever eat up to 3,000? So that's a good question, because I think everyone who actually has the courage to decide, yes, I'm going to recover and I'm going to eat a lot more and I'm going to get my body and my mental health to up to par again. Because for those of you who don't know, there's kind of some minimums that are thrown around, also not randomly at all, but like by specific websites for eating disorder recovery or dieting or restriction recovery. And there's, depending on the height of a person, on the gender of a person, there's calorie minimums that are recommended. And I myself actually went that path because it just made total sense to me. But what I did do though, before I decided that, I actually, because I wasn't, I guess it was kind of a weakness, but I didn't feel ready to go all in and just, there's no limits there. And I mean, that would be kind of ideal for getting back to physical and mental health as quickly as possible. But for me, I kind of did like, I guess you can say a compromise, which is not what I would recommend for the reasons mentioned. But I actually increased my calories slowly to get to that minimum from where I was before. And it's also no secret, I talked about that in other videos before. I actually, oh, hi Elke!
Hey.
Cool to see you. Well, I don't see you. You see me. And What was I saying?
To not
You don't know, so
right.
huh?
You were talking about the intake, the maximum intake you should do if you want to recover, but then
Yes.
you did kind of a compromise.
Yes, I talked about it in other videos before. I'd say I was not in a too bad situation before in comparison to other people who restricted. Like, you know, there's people who are eating like 800 calories or even less, or 1,200. I was around like 1,800 calories per day when I was actually going through all of these symptoms that you can actually look at in my vegan health crisis timeline. The link should be down below. It's normally automatically in there, but if not, I'm going to post it after the live stream. And there you can see what I suffered from, like all of the symptoms that I had due to undereating and not eating enough calories, and they actually reversed when I was eating the minimum. And so before I got to the minimum, before I actually increased slowly. Hello mama, there's actually my mom joining right now.
Which is my mother-in-law.
Yeah, yeah. Mom, feel free to ask me any questions that you ever wanted me to answer publicly, and don't be ashamed to ask anything. Ja, also frag mich einfach, wenn du möchtest. And so for me, the question is, did you stick to eating 2,500 calories in recovery, or did you ever eat up to 3,000 calories? So we really have to understand the 2,500, like in my case, according to the Minimod guidelines, that would be the minimum, but it can actually be more the minimum if you're different gender, different height. Then so that's only a minimum. So that means there's actually no limit upwards. Like there's no ceiling, as I like to call it. The sky is the limit, and it really depends on how bad, like how great your mental hunger is. So for me, because I did come from a restriction past, and it really shows, like me eating 1,800 calories before per day was really, you could say, not too bad at all in comparison to other people, but it was bad enough to develop, like for me to develop all of these symptoms, like, and you have to really think about it. That really drives me mad, that society and the diet industry, they actually recommend that kind of number. Like 1,800 calories is considered to be a normal, sufficient amount for a woman, and that's crazy if you think about it. Like my health actually declined, and it's not even thinkable what would happen if I hadn't come out of that. And so that's why I'm doing what I'm doing, because it's really not enough at all. And especially for vegans, they really tend to undereat big time. And so 1,000 and did you stick to eating 2,500 calories? Or did you ever eat up to 3,000? So so that's why I was rambling about that topic so much. My extreme hunger was not too extreme in comparison to others, because I think it's just logic. I think it was because my situation before was not too bad in comparison, like relatively. And so, but I did have extreme hunger. Like I did have these nights where I got up 5 times and actually had to eat in order to be able to sleep again, and regularly and for a long time. So don't get me wrong, I really had a very increased hunger, but I did not experience that kind of extreme hunger, like going to 10,000 calories or even 5,000 calories. Never had that. I did go, so to finally answer the question actually, I did go to 3,000 calories on a regular basis in the beginning, but that kind of naturally, my hunger, both mental and physical, they did naturally even out. So for example, right now, it's been like 2 years since I started eating the minimums, and it's, yeah, I still stick to mental and physical hunger, but you know, it's just, I feel that it's just different. It's not as extreme as before, and yeah, so the minimums are minimums, and I did go above these minimums, as you are supposed to, because otherwise you need to keep in mind your body needs these extra calories to repair, and the minimum is the minimum. No more and no less. And so you also, what really helped me to keep in mind is that these two, the minimums, the minimod guideline minimums, they are not actually like some random numbers that, you know, that are going to that are much more than your body would normally need. No, these are actually the numbers that normal people with normal relationship to food eat on a daily basis to maintain their weight. And so that's it. It's not for someone who's going into recovery, it might seem like a huge number, and no, I'm just going to say it because most people think that I'm going to get fat, and that's just horrendous, and it's not going to work, and but it's really not that extreme. Like, it's not that big of a deal. It's something that a person who has never restricted their calories and doesn't even think about dieting or restricting themselves, it's just the normal, the healthy amount to eat. And so that really helped me to really consider it and look at it as a minimum and not as something that I have to hit and not go over, because that is a mistake that many people make.
Speaking of eating,
Yeah.
there's a question coming in from Elke, and I guess it's a boy. Sorry for not knowing.
Yeah, he is. We follow each other on Instagram.
Okay. And
Yeah.
he is asking, what's your favorite food? So maybe we should maybe split the question up into different categories. So what's your favorite veggie? What's your favorite fruits? And then maybe
We go for
like
whole foods first.
whole foods
right?
first, yeah, and
Yeah.
then for like dishes.
Yeah, because it's quite funny, because we have talked about this so many times, and then you really have to define, like, what do you mean by food? Is it a whole food, or is it something that you can make? And so that's a big difference. You go
Yeah.
first.
So my favorite fruit, I would say, is durian. And that's a very exotic one. Maybe most of you have never tasted it. But if you ever have the chance to do so, usually when you're on a travel in Southeast Asia, then please go ahead and try it. But make sure you have a trustworthy dealer who just doesn't want to sell you like the crappy stuff for high price.
Yeah.
Because then you will definitely be disappointed. But if you have a good one, it's really, really, really tasty. Trust me.
And that's coming from you.
Yeah, because the first durian I ate was in Thailand, and I really didn't like it because it was a bad one. It was smelly. The texture of the flesh was like chewy, and it was really not enjoyable. But if you have a good one, a ripe one, this one is so sweet and it's so creamy in texture, and it has the blend of flavors in it is so amazing, and it almost tastes like a sweet dessert, like for example vanilla cream with hazelnut and some egg liquor on top. just think about this, how it would taste, and this is a fruit. It's just amazing. And yeah, so Elkis just said he just once had a frozen durian from an Asian supermarket store. Those ones, he said it's tasty, the one he tried, but we made the experience that those ones are usually of a bad quality.
Well, we haven't actually tried one here in Germany.
Yeah, but
Like-
the frozen ones in
Yeah.
in Asia are usually the ones which the vendors can't sell at their store because they are bad quality, and then they take this which they couldn't sell and just freeze them and sell them later. So
Yeah, exactly.
just find it out for yourself.
It's just, if you haven't had the comparison to fresh one, Elke, I know, you know, from the little bits that of impressions that I have from you, from our conversations and on Instagram, you really want to make sure you taste a fresh durian, because it's just, you can't describe it. It's like, there's actually people, we have friends that are traveling for that fruit.
Yeah.
And when we heard that, it's like so extreme, but it when we had our first fresh durian, we were like, well, it's actually not too extreme.
Yeah,
And we are looking forward to the next fresh durian. It just it tastes, it's like an explosion in your mouth. It's like the creamiest dessert you could. It's fatty and sweet. It's actually the only fruit, and actually I think the only whole food that ever exists on planet Earth that has fat and sweetness combined. And it's just, if you have the right friends that are bringing you to the right dealers to high quality durian, yeah. So it's actually also my favorite food of all time. Like, and even if we went for the definition of preparing food, I would choose durian over any kind of dish. Like, it doesn't even matter. Like, if there was one food I
That's
had
true.
to live on for the rest of my life, it's gotta be durian. It sounds really,
Yeah, it's-
really extreme, but that's how it is.
So back then when we were in Asia, we both and I was like, oh, let's go to the street kitchens and buy some local rice and some prepared dishes, which are also very delicious. And she was like, oh, no, I want to stick for durian. Please get me some durian. So that's true what she's saying. So the favorite veggie. So for mine, I would say it's sweet pepper or bell pepper, as we would say. Yeah, I just like it. If it's ripe, it's sweet, like the yellow and the red one is sweet. The green one is not as sweet, but also really tasty, and it's fresh. It's juicy, and it has a bit of a crunch when you eat it.
Yeah, for me it's pumpkin.
Also not a
I
bad
love
choice.
pumpkin. Pumpkin in the
Pum, pum,
oven. I think, Elke, if I remember, I don't know if you're more of a raw food eater. I do like cooked pumpkin and roasted pumpkin. Oh, yes.
And then for the whole dishes, I would say my favorite is pasta.
Yes,
So
it is.
As a German, I would say noodles, but all our Italian friends would like say, "What? You can't say noodles. It's pasta." So I say pasta, and yeah, of course, the favorite out of pasta is spaghetti, for sure.
For me, I'm more of like a sweet, like I love sweet breakfast foods if I make them. And it would be more like anything that goes into the Snickers direction, like chocolate and or carob combined with peanut and with oats or something, or combined with bananas. Actually, like a banana ice cream would be also right up there on the top, because it doesn't even taste like bananas. It tastes like ice cream for a meal. Yeah.
Yeah, so I hope that answers your question.
Yeah. What's yours? Post yours. Did you post? his
No,
favorite food?
not yet.
Yeah. It's actually amazing how your preferences for foods also change when you kind of change up your way of eating. We found that quite a lot when we went vegan in, 2013 it was, in June. I eat all kinds of vegan food. I try to stick to mostly whole foods, but occasionally I'll have some junk too. That's what Elke wrote. Yeah, that's basically exactly how I eat. Yeah, just get the best of both worlds.
And I think that's just my personal opinion. The junk food is also important, not for nutrition, but just if it tastes good, and if you have it once in a while, it's not gonna hurt. And also, it makes life so much easier if you're like on social occasions when you're out with friends, and it's not bad.
Yeah, but even nutritionally, especially for people who recover from restriction, it can be super valuable because it helps them eat more than if they only stick to whole foods. Because I tried that in the beginning also, and it's just your digestion is so slowed down. It's called gastroparesis, and it's just, it's not a vital function of the body. It's slowed down for a reason, because there's not enough energy coming in. And so processed foods, of course you have to overcome the fear, but once I did that, they really helped me to also get above the minimum, and even get to the minimum in the first place,
because it's like very dense, calorie dense. It's a low volume but a lot of calories. And that makes it hard probably for someone who is dealing with these issues, like mentally hard to eat it, but your body is really actually craving for it because he needs the energy to repair all the stuff.
True. If you're honest to yourself, you are craving these things. Like you can call it what you want, but you really want to eat these things. Like I even dreamed of processed foods. Like when I was still restricting, it's like you have to be honest to yourself. And then you could also argue, and that's also what I did. You can also just eat, rice and sweet potatoes and bananas and dates and like all these high calorie dense foods, whole foods. You can do that. Like from a physical standpoint, it's doable for many people, but then again, some really have a problem with the fiber. It's not only the density, but it's also like these whole foods always have fiber. And so when your digestion is not up to par, it's actually you have so much bloating already. Like seriously, at least I had, and it's very common in recovery. And then anything you give your body to digest, which like it can be just too much, and you might have to wait for a while until you can reintroduce these foods again in these high quantities. And also, mentally, I really actually don't have to say that, but I will say it. You actually have to learn to eat suboptimal foods, because you need to find the middle ground between the science and living the life in the modern world. We are not living in the jungle. I say this all the time, but I really want to repeat it as much as I can. Because that was also my argument. Well, if I was living in nature, I wouldn't know all these processed foods. There would not be these processed foods, and I wouldn't eat that. But I really had to learn to trust my body that it will also be able to know exactly what it's got to do with processed foods. Because think about it, if you have a little bit of processed foods on an overall more kind of natural-ish diet, then it's not going to make a difference at all in the end if you have the majority coming from natural foods, if you will. Because think about it, a banana can have more or less sugar depending on the type of variety, depending on the ripeness, depending on where it came from, what the soil was like, how many micronutrients it has. Like there can be more fats, or like in all whole foods, they are never static. It's never a fixed amount of carbs, fats, proteins, micronutrients. It's every banana is different, and that applies to every whole food. And so the sweetness of a whole food will always be different. The amount of fiber of a whole food will always be different. The amount of water, the amount of everything. And so if you take that into consideration and you kind of have a banana that is not very ripe yet, and then you decide to add an example. You add 1 teaspoon of sugar, let's go for that kind of example because we all know these people who are doing that. Then, that little teaspoon of sugar is not going to make the banana less healthy. It's also not going to wreak havoc on your digestion, and it's not going to cause insulin resistance or a sugar spike because, and that's the point, it's actually combined in your stomach with the fiber and the water of the banana. It's as if the banana had more sugar itself.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense? So that really helped me to wrap my head around eating unperfect, and it was super, super important for me to do that. And it really, like, the fear is not justified. Don't be afraid of it. Now I actually eat a little bit of processed food every day because I also think it's a problem. It's problematic if people are doing what I did in the beginning, baby steps. I allowed myself non-whole foods, like processed foods, when I was around other people, like for social occasions, for special occasions. Yes, I'm going to allow myself to have these. And it's like, yes, it's a step. It's a baby step. But it cannot be, that's not where you should stay. Because then you're still going to have this mental restriction. I can't have this for myself. It's not optimal for me. It's still that kind of mindset that is really a problem. And you actually, as long as you're only doing that on special occasions with other people, your brain will still be convinced that these foods are not good for you, right? And you're still going to reinforce and confirm that fear of your brain that you should avoid these foods. And that's all. I hope this helps someone. If so, give this a thumbs up also for this live stream. It's so, what we avoid will be the things that our brain is afraid of. That's when we avoid things, we teach our brain, we literally teach our brains to be afraid of this stuff. Because that's, there must be a reason that we are avoiding these things. And things that we don't avoid, we actually teach our brain to not be afraid of them anymore. And so that's the reasoning behind. How did we get to the topic of processed foods?
We were asked what is our favorite food. And we said we split it up into different categories. Yeah, actually one of my most favorite foods before I went vegan was really Snickers. For some it might be boring, but that's and also Nutella. And so I really for my personal recovery, it was super important to eat these flavors and also get to the processed junkier kind of version of these vegan foods. That's it. So if you have more questions, just type them in the chat and we're happy to answer it.
Yes. I think as long as do you have anything to add to what I said? I'm just wondering if, I mean, I could go for answering the question that I got in the comments under a YouTube video. That would be very interesting for many people, I think. But because we're here as a couple, maybe there's things that people are more interested in.
Asking me.
Or, yeah, like both of us, how we are dealing with.
And just
Maybe we just talk about it. Like, I guess, like, how did you deal with... I'm just gonna come up with a question.
then please type it.
What was the most challenging part for you being my husband when, you know, your wife was struggling with body image and in that whole recovery thing? What do you think was the most challenging part?
You should have asked
For
the
you.
question before so I could prepare.
You can.
I can't really tell what was the most challenging, but in general, I would say it's super, super important to support your other half, or even if it's just a friend of yours who's struggling and you're like, have a very close relationship with each other, and be supportive and be like, listen to their needs and what they're saying, and not just say, well, he or she is like a bit strange, she's doing things differently. Just really try to understand how they are feeling, what's the real problem they're dealing with, and it makes it so much easier to really know what's happening and to actually understand why is the person reacting like this or not reacting like this. And the more you try to understand, or the more you understand the real issue behind it, it's even easier to support them, because you know what is really important and what is maybe less important. And you can also be like in the role of correcting things, like I don't know, for example, if you're struggling with a disorder, like an eating disorder, and it could be any disorder behavior, your brain is really like in a different mode, I would say. Your brain is like on autopilot for sustaining your how would you say this, your
It's believing all the fears. It's
Yeah,
kind of,
right.
you have two different voices in your head. Your
right,
own.
and it's just following the I would say the not natural voice, like the voice which comes from your disorder or fear, or
Most people call it ED voice, like
Yeah.
eating disorder voice.
so
Yeah.
for example, we just talked about junk food. Let it be vegan junk food or not vegan junk food, it really doesn't matter in this case. If the person then says, oh, I can't eat that because it will be so unhealthy for me and my body just can't handle it. And if you really understand what's going on in this person's mind, you're in the role of talking to them and saying, hey, I know that's really hard for you, but maybe think about it again, and maybe it's not as bad as you think, the food. So you're kind of in a role there where you can really reflect on what this person is doing, what he or she is saying or not saying, eating or not eating, and then you have to be in the discussion. You have to really ask questions, and try to understand and be supportive, and then the person might open up also, because he or she realizes this friend or partner really wants to help me, and then it might be even easier to get into a discussion and talk about things. And in general, that's what we realized over the last years. Talking is so important to let
Yes.
the other person know about your dreams, your fears, your daily life, what's really like happening on a daily basis.
Independent from recovery, like that applies to all areas of life. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it makes you so much stronger as a couple, as a team, or if it's just a normal friendship, and it just really strengthens it.
Yeah, it might sound really, arbitrary. Like, yeah, I mean, who would have thought talking is important? But the longer we are married, and you don't have to be married, obviously, to for that to be important. But the longer you are in a relationship with anyone, the more you realize, gosh, you can never talk too much. It's just how it is. And of course, that really requires you to be open and to be weak, also to make yourself vulnerable, not only to your partner, but also to yourself. Because when you admit your weaknesses in front of yourself, like that hurts the most, I guess. And that also I really felt, it really connected us also, because I decided to really open up about all of the shameful parts of disordered thinking. And you don't have to have a full-blown eating disorder to have mindsets or ways of thinking that they are a little bit awkward, or maybe that's not what a normal person would think or do, and you feel ashamed about. And so talking to that and speaking these things out, it really takes away the power they have over you. Like for me, I think that was the most helpful thing, to really take you into my recovery and actually take the power away from secrets, from I think any kind of disordered mindset or also addiction, they always feed off of and thrive of being in secret. That's things that you don't want others to know about. And so when you speak that out, first of all, you realize, wow, that's not a healthy place to be in. And then also you have someone who is actually, that you can ask for, how do you say, accountability. Like they can actually keep you accountable if you ask them to do so. For you, for me, the most valuable thing that you could give me as a partner was actually, of course, acceptance and everything, and not pushing, but you had to realize, well, every decision has to come from me. You cannot force me to do anything. You cannot say, eat the cookie now.
Doesn't work.
Yeah, it doesn't work, obviously, but also it might be, it might actually cause the opposite. Like, because I have to do this. I have to decide. That's where the real neural rewiring takes place. I have to be an adult, have to be a grown up, and take responsibility for my life, for my health, and for my, all of the areas of the health. And so, but what you gave me, or still give me, but especially in recovery, is really, you helped me in all of these difficult situations where I didn't know, is this fear true now? Is this my voice, or is this just a lie that I'm believing? And you helped me to figure out what was the real me and what was a lie that I was have been telling myself, or that the military voice, how I call it, the military voice that is also always hard on me, and it's been there all my life, basically, till my teenage. more or less throughout the years, but you helped me to pinpoint it and say, well, that's just a lie, and you helped me to see the truth in these situations. And but at the same time, I mean, of course, it can be really easy for a partner to say, okay, I am never going to say anything negative or anything. You have to be. I think the key, the real key, that all would really not have any effect at all on me in a positive way if I didn't have the feeling you were authentic. If I didn't really know, yes, you do love me, and you do not only me as a person, but my body. That's just something that, when you struggle with your body image, of course it's going to help you if someone is saying, well, you are beautiful. Of course. But the thing that always came up in my mind in these moments was, well, that he's just saying that because he loves you, and he's just saying that because he wants you to feel good, and it's really, he doesn't mean it that way. And so the key was really knowing you're not pretending.
Yeah. And also, I would add to this: what can you do to support your partner or friend? Is on the things you can really practically do. For example, when someone is struggling with like adrenal fatigue, and you're not even like able to do anything because you're just so tired and need to rest, like physically rest, then make sure that the person can have rest. And I know it's sometimes really hard and it's not possible every time, but as much as possible, make sure that this person can rest as needed.
Also in recovery, when you have to actually limit your movement, and you actually feel lazy and all of these things that the military voice tells you. It's like you're disgusting, you eat too much, you move too less, you're lazy, you're just sitting on the couch. But that's exactly what you need to do. But then when you're living with someone together, you're really afraid my significant other, they are going to think exactly that about me. And so that can lead to a lot of shame. But talking about it will reveal to your partner that is something that is really the only right thing for you to do right now.
Yeah.
And I have to support that, even though even though it might not be very easy all the time.
And also, like, for example, doing like grocery shopping.
Yes.
If it's triggering to your partner to do that, then maybe it's better that you just do it.
Yeah, actually, yeah.
Also for things like, let's say, cooking, like preparing food in the kitchen, if your partner is not really comfortable with that, then maybe it's better that you do it. But also, and then it all comes down to talking with each other again. There might be a point where it's up to your partner to reintroduce these things into his or her life.
Yeah.
Because it can't be the final solution that, like, for the rest of the life, you're the one to cook because your partner just can't. Because it's like the overall goal is to overcome these fears and the things which trigger you. So there might be a point in life where it's actually up to your partner again to, like, learn to be in the kitchen again.
Yes.
And learn to go shopping again, and also for adrenal fatigue, people like to be more active again and not just rest all the time and think like, oh, I have a nice partner, he's just doing it for me. I'm fine. That's not
Yeah.
the point. The point is really to know the needs of the other and support them with that until it's time to, or until the underlying issue is not existent anymore, and then
Well,
go back to
fading
normal,
away,
or
I
fading
would
away,
say,
yeah, and
but
then go back to
yeah.
normal again. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's something that really only the one suffering can decide. I mean, you are responsible for your recovery, but yeah, don't make the mistake and be stuck in recovery for and those behaviors for the rest of your life.
Yep.
So true. Actually, today I was this morning when we had breakfast together. I was the one suggesting that we're going to have pizza tonight, and not a self-made whole wheat flour whole foods no oil pizza, but just one that we got from, how do you say in English, Lidl, a vegan one. That's just something that wouldn't have been possible before. It wouldn't just, well, it would have come to my mind, but I would never have said it, because David would have to be the one that would suggest it, because only then I would even consider for me to maybe have the courage in some way to say, okay, I agree. And so that's just something, the more you recover, the more you are going to feel that you are actually making steps. Again, you feel your normal, your true self coming back. For example,
And also
the
your
kitchen
partner.
and the grocery shopping part
Yeah.
is, you feel like, well, a lot of the time, so I really regret that in the times where I was very restrictive, I didn't really like the person I was, because I was so only about myself. Like, and you can't kind of help it in that moment, and you don't really realize it, but all your brain thinks about it. How am I going to be able, it's in that survival mode. How am I going to make sure we are not eating more than this and we are moving enough, that kind of thinking. And so the more I recovered, I noticed I really want to be of help to you as well. Like, I really want to give back, and even not even only giving back, but just I love you, and I don't want to be about myself. I want to make you some food as well. I want to make you a surprise. And so that's when you can make these steps to being more normal again.
Yeah. And you will also realize once your partner is on the way back to normal, as you just said, because some things which were not possible in the past suddenly become possible again, and you will realize, and you will just know, and it's a good sign that you're making progress. And also, I would add that it's really important to remind the person who is recovering about their steps they already did or accomplished in the past. Because sometimes you're just like, you're having a bad day,
having a mental breakdown,
pity pie, then you just like, the person is just really down, and then you can really lift them up and say, hey, listen, you already achieved this, and that, and so it's not as bad as you see it. You're on the way. You're not at the finish line yet, but you already did some very good progress, and it's sometimes really helpful to just remind them.
True, but at the same time, don't fall for becoming complacent, right? I mean, so the military voice, it will always try, it's always those negative things in your head, and it will always trying to convince you you're not enough, you're not good enough, you're not you're even not doing good enough at recovery. Like anything you do, say, or are is not enough. And so when you where did I want to go?
I don't know.
I don't quite know, but the being, don't get complacent part is, yes, it's so important to recognize what you have accomplished already, how far you've come and where you've come from. But at the same time, that doesn't mean that you can't take the next step as well.
Yeah.
For example, for me, it was kind of a really important rule in my recovery, like rule if you can call it that, but it was a recovery rule, so not a bad rule. It was once I decided to have something, once I, decided, okay, I'm going to go for that fear food, then it was in. Once it's in, it's in. And I'm not taking a step back. It's not like, okay, I'm going to try it once and then we're going to recover for a year or something from that kind of fear. No, we have to repeat it. And I kind of...
Take in the next one.
Exactly. We have to eat it or do this action that we are afraid of. For example, also forcing yourself to sit on the sofa when your significant other is going for a bike ride. That's a thing. Like that's just forcing yourself not to do things. How did my sentence start?
That's it. Just
just really make sure you are doing this thing or you don't do this thing until that fear is gone. And that can take quite some time. But really, it sounds, I couldn't believe it when I was in that place, but take it from me, I've gone through this, and it really becomes easier and easier and easier with every single step you take, with every single fear you're facing and you're overcoming, and you do the opposite, you do it anyway. You do it to teach your brain not to be afraid of that anymore. And that really happened for me. And every single step you take, the more courageous you are, the quicker it's going to be. The bigger the steps are that you take, the more you're going to feel, and the quicker you're going to feel the neural rewiring taking place in your brain, because you're also going to get some kind of momentum that you can work with. You feel the more fears you can actually target in a week, kind of, the more that will set you up in the next week. It's like, wow, yes, I can do this. And you have to cheer yourself on, obviously, but also hopefully you're going to be cheered on by someone else. I really can encourage you to just open up to someone else. And that's the church that we're living next to as a background track. I wanted to say something. What did you have before? Oh yeah, the cooking part. So it naturally is that way, that David he has always liked cooking more than me. I am blessed. But so it was super important for me to just make a point in just eating whatever he cooks, because that was kind of one of the hardest parts for me in the beginning, to eat things that I didn't prepare myself, that I didn't know exactly what was in there, to the gram, if it was about oil or something, or like, and I even was at a point where I just plain and simple wouldn't eat it when there was anything in there that I was afraid of. And so that was a point I had to make, to embrace that blessing of being cooked for, and then also to trust that person, your trusted person. They are not going to just, you know, slam in any kind of fear food just to make you angry or just to make you have a panic attack. No, they're also, you were really, really a cooperative
A
in,
co-worker.
you know, in the beginning when I said, oh, please, you know, do less of this or more of that or whatever. But at the same time, you were helping me to push the limits. You were asking me, is it okay if I do this? You know, and I mean, most ideal and the biggest step would be, you know, if you just have the courage to just say, I just don't care at all. But you know, you can work together to get you closer to where you need to be. And the more you know, once you have a teaspoon of oil in a big pan of vegetables, it becomes easier and easier for you, you know, and you've eaten that for a month, you know, I don't know how many times a week, and then your brain just naturally realizes, wow, and we're still alive, and all of these fears, they actually they it's just in your head. And so it becomes easier and easier, and that actually gets you to the point where when you are in social situations where you are not in control about your food, you know, when you meet in a cafe or restaurant, then you can really just lean back and relax, because that's not the situation where you are for the first time facing that fear. You are actually, it's like your brain's like, oh, whatever, yeah, I'll take the pizza, because you've had that pizza with, it's just an example now with the oil, but with the white flour, or, you know, processed stuff or whatever is in there, maybe some kind of artificial sweetener, you know. You've had that many times already. It's like, wow, that really has helped me to do that in, like, when I'm in control, to face and conquer these fears for myself on my own, and not when someone else is witnessing it. Because yeah, these are the moments you want to be able to enjoy. And if you're only to keep these fear foods to social occasions, it's going to take you a long time to actually get yourself neurally rewired.
And it will make those situations in the restaurant
Yeah,
like,
very uncomfortable.
yes.
What do you want to elaborate on that? What do you mean?
Well, yeah, it's just like you will be stressed then, but if you, on the other hand, had these kind of foods already before at home, there's no need to be stressed.
Yeah, there's something nice about just asking the waiter or waitress for a vegan meal, instead of, well, can I maybe have only potatoes and broccoli? And like, gosh, never, please don't put any kind of coconut milk or oil or salt or whatever, like, I can't handle that, and you know, 10 allergies. And it's just it makes a big difference for everyone and for yourself to just be able to just say, well, I'm a vegetarian, I don't eat eggs and dairy and meat, and so just prepare something for me, thank you. And they're usually, it just makes everything so relaxed. Yep.
All right. Having had the church bells at the background music, reminded us that it's been an hour already.
Yes. Yeah, I've enjoyed it very much. I think it's also just because of Saturday and or time zones, and you know, there's no more questions coming in. I hope you really enjoyed this. If you also watched it after the live stream was happening, feel free to comment anything you have about the topics that we covered. I hope it really helped. Let me know also if you enjoyed Daving being part of it. You guys actually voted for him in my poll, in my question poll here on YouTube. So yeah, please don't forget the thumbs up. It just, I know it sucks to just always say that, but it just really helps the algorithm to support my videos, and I just give so much time and effort, and so it would be really great if you could give that little bit back to me. Okay, see you next video. Bye.
Bye.
Oh, actually, I wanted to, yeah, actually, let's just agree. I'm also going to post it below, like in the info box, like the weekend, the first weekend in every month. Let's do a live stream together. So for those who are actually planning, like so good at their time management, you can, I think it's the 6th and the 7th in March would be the next one. So 6th is the next live stream in English, so you don't miss out on it. Oh, thanks, Elke, as well. Wow, you stayed the whole time. I feel so honored. Thank you so much. And I see you also next video. Bye.
Bye.